What do you want to talk about? Over a recent weekend, 5 original movies hit theaters. 5 original, non-IP movies hit theaters. And they collectively grossed approximately, based on the last numbers I saw, $54 million, which is the lowest grossing weekend of the domestic box office here in the United States. And that raises, obviously, a lot of questions. The central question, of course, being, for all of us pocket-watching, hand-wringing types, has theatrical movie-going changed forever, right? Because we live in this conditional, repetitive cycle. There's a group of us on Film Sky or Film Twitter or Letterboxd, and we are opining the days of yore when original films could come out on modest budgets, and why don't they make medium-sized movies and smaller movies with 90-minute run times with just character actors and maybe a star or two, and that are specifically directed, towards older people, adults, 18 and above, heck, 20 and above, heck, 30 and above. Where are the movies for us? And we say this as if those movies are going to be successful, as if that sort of thing returned, that attendance to the theater would return. It's almost like a foregone conclusion in our minds. And then 1 or 2, or in this case, 5 of those types of films comes out, and nobody goes to see them. And they flop. They flop hard. Within 10 days, they're on a streaming service, or they're announced to be in a streaming service within 15 to 20 days, And then this cycle begins anew, right? Because then in between there's another IP franchise movie that comes out. And even if it makes only $500 million domestically, which is considered a grave disappointment, it's still better than 5 films making $50 million. And one of the films that came out recently was Steven Soderbergh's, a real director. He directed a film called Black Bag. It has Cate Blanchett in it. It has Michael Fassbender, Naomi Harris, and some other folks. And nobody saw this movie, okay? Absolutely nobody. So the hand-wringing begins. So I'm going to talk about Black Bag because I haven't watched the other ones, and I'm going to talk about that myself, and why did I not make it out to the Looney Tunes movie or Novocaine or Mickey 17 or some of these other movies that I had on the schedule and planned to watch and planned to release instant reactions for, and just didn't go see. Why did I go see Black Bag? What did I think of it? But also the larger implications for theatrical experience and movies and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Black Bag. Black Bag is a spy thriller. It's directed by Steven Soderbergh. It stars Cate Blanchett, Michael Fassbender as these married intelligence agents who are a part of the same British intelligence organization, and they are entangled in a web of espionage and betrayal. And the term Black Bag comes from there's certain operational knowledge that she has that he's not allowed to have. So they have to silo each other off from their knowledge and what they know, including what they may or may not know about each other. And when something comes up in the marriage conversation, they have to say, "Oh, Black Bag," meaning can't tell you that, right? You can ask, but I can't tell you, and really you shouldn't even be asking. And this is a return to the Soderbergh style. This is the second film this year that's come out. He did Presence earlier this year, which was one of those movies I had tickets for, had to cancel my tickets. And I don't want to go on a little tangent so far, but why not, right? You're going to indulge me, so let's just go down this path. What has happened with movie screening times? I don't know if it's the same way where you live in the United States, if you're here, or elsewhere in the world. I feel like movie times used to make sense. that there was a 5 o'clock showing, and there was a 7 o'clock showing, and there was a 9 o'clock showing, right? And typically the movies open at about 10 or 11, weekdays I'm talking about. And so you'd see, 10 or 11 a.m., your first movies. So it'd probably be, there's a showing at 10, there's a showing at noon, there's a showing at, and this is just, in a screen, right? If it's a multiplex, there may be multiple screens. And maybe one starts at 10:30 and one starts at 11:30, right? To offset it. Or maybe even an hour behind. Now I feel like when I go to my app and I should almost do this as a proof of concept, but then if I'm proven wrong, then I look like a fool. But when these smaller movies like Presents come out, these independent, ostensibly films, it's like, well, we have a 6:10 showing and a 10:45 showing. And I cannot get to the movie theater at 6:15 or 6:10. And even though I know I've got at least 26 minutes of baked in commercials that I'm going to skip. So I'm not showing up at 6:15. I'm going to show up at probably 6:30 because it won't start actually showing until about 6:40. I can still probably get popcorn and then make my way into the theater. And I don't miss anything. Every time this happens, Maria Menounos is saying, well, that does it for a movie. Enjoy the show, right? And I still have to sit through whatever the Cinemark or AMC B-roll ad footage is for their membership program, and probably another Coca-Cola commercial, and probably another Jeans commercial, and then maybe another trailer, and then I'm going to see the movie. So even though I show up about 20 minutes late, I'm still going to get 6 minutes of ads. Then the movie starts. Okay. I cannot make it to the movie theater at 6:45 at night. I cannot make it to the movie theater at 9:45 at night. On a Wednesday, on a Thursday, on a Tuesday, on a Monday. I don't even want to do that on a fucking Friday. So part of it is, maybe I'm just complaining about my own local theater. They make it impossible to see these movies. There are no convenience. Do you want to go at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday? Well, I can't really do it in the middle of the day like that. That's very odd. It's right in the middle of the day. I mean, it's after lunch. That's not so bad. But I can't go at 11. I sure as hell can't go at, 9 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm not going to wake up and do that. I can't really do 1. Do you have a 7 p.m. on a Saturday? That seems like, that seems like the way that we used to live our lives, right? Your social engagements started at typically about 7 p.m. Unless it was a late party. Well, best I can do for you is a 10:12. 10:12 at night on a Saturday? You're either going out, or to a friend's house, or you're not going fucking anywhere. So what are we doing here? Okay, that's that rant. This is a return to form for Soderbergh. This is more of his sleek, minimalist approach that you've seen in movies like Ocean's 11. And Black Bag's gotten a lot of positive reviews. In fact, I would say it's universally enjoyed, acclaimed, whatever you want to say. It's a 4-star film, even for me, with the exception of Paul from The Countdown, who's in semi-retirement, but still finds time to go on Letterboxd and complain about movies that are 4 stars everywhere around the world to give him 2.5 stars. He takes this incredibly compelling film and says that it's not compelling at all. He wasn't engaged. He was bored. It's boring. Despite the fact that critical consensus is against him. It's never stopped him before. It's not going to stop him in the future. It has this really modest opening, which, is obviously raises that specter of that question that we all hate to hear. And that specter of the question is, we're all sick of it, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Would this movie have done better in theaters 10 years ago? And here's why that's a moot question. It isn't 10 years ago. It's not 2015 or 2005 or 1995. And we can never answer that question. Theoretically, in the theoretical version of the past in which more people like the sort of movies that I like or maybe you like, we can imagine a scenario where everybody would agree with our taste. But that's not the real world. And I've had some recent experiences in my life, both in terms of people I've interacted with on a friendship level, work level, and even romantic level, with people who are just outside my generation, on really either side, but mostly on the Gen Z side. And here's the big difference, right? I was talking to somebody recently about what dates look like in the Midwest in the 1990s. And I'm like, look, it was like either you're walking around a mall, if it's during the day, that's your date. You are going to Cosmic Bowling at 10 o'clock at night, or Globe Bowling is what we called it, but it's Cosmic Bowling. Or you are going to like dinner in a movie or just a movie, right? And if you're real broke, it's just $1 movie. And if you're not broke, then you go to the full movie, and you probably go to like Olive Garden or Fazoli's or a pizza place beforehand, and that was your dinner, and you went to a movie. And then you probably even also did it in groups. So you had a group of guys with a group of gals, and then after the movie, or during the movie, a couple of the guys and a couple of the gals would make out, and then you would look at the gal that you've been set up with by your friends, and she would look at you as if we're not making out, and you look at her and just go, "Are you sure?" And she'd go, "Yeah," and then you're just sit there watching the movie. That's my experience. That's my childhood. Okay, and I expressed this to this person, and they said, "Wow, that just doesn't seem real. It just seems so old-timey, old-fashioned." And this is a person in their 20s, late 20s. And after I crumbled inside and realized that I was old and they laughed at me, I thought about it. And I'm like, oh, this is one of the movie-going divides that I've talked about before in this podcast, kind of proving my point. Millennials, which are roughly people from 1981 to 1996, those are your birth years. This person was born in 97, same year as Titanic. When we grew up as movies, as central to entertainment, movie going was a primary social activity. Whether it was video stores or movie theaters, that is what you did. You watched horror movies in groups. You know, what did you do even when you were a kid, right? What do you do at a sleepover? You rent Jurassic Park and you watch it. And it's like entry-level horror movie, and you all get scared. And maybe even watch something more taboo than that. You get the Scream movies, and you would watch those with friends or dates. And as you got older, right? It was just a part of our culture. It was one of the primary places in which we engaged with each other socially. If you're Gen Z, and you're born in 1997, the same year as Titanic, like some of my recent dates, or 2012, you were raised in a digital media landscape where you had much more instantaneous access to content, and you had platforms like TikTok and YouTube, which have dominated, and Vine, which have dominated your media consumption. And this person said something to me, and they said, I just can't sit. I don't have the attention span for a movie. It's just so strange to me that you would just sit in one place for like 2 hours and watch one thing. And they were dead serious. It was like talking to this person, great person, by the way. It was like talking about going to a dinner show. It's like I might as well have said, back in my day, we went to vaudeville or sock hops. You know, it was like, oh, I could kind of see some of the appeal of that for maybe 5 minutes, but I can't imagine sitting there for 90 minutes and just watching one thing. And the data backs this up. There's recent studies that indicate that Gen Z is more inclined towards interactive and social experiences like gaming or going to concerts or shows, even though those can be 3-4 plus hours long, or festivals, obviously, over like traditional movie going. There's just not enough happening and not enough sort of physical, visceral engagement in movie going, movie watching, movie theaters for Gen Z. And as my date said, and as the data seems to back up, there are people in Gen Z who are sort of movie nerds. Those, because she was like, look, there are people my age who love movies. It's just more of like a niche thing, right? It's a niche. Those people, it's like that's their thing. It's just that we're not into it. There are some people who are. Whereas, like I said, for us as millennials and Gen X and even a little bit older boomers, this was it. This is one of the main staples of our culture. So for Gen Z, at best, movie going is an event, and even that event is optional because there are better events out there. It is certainly not a habit. I have another sneaking suspicion, at least when it comes domestically to the United States. I think that we've been experiencing what could best be described as a shrink in two areas, shrinkflation, if you will, in leisure time and dollar value. Okay. I don't exactly have data to back this up, so this is not an evidence-based claim, but I would guess that if there is data out there, it would indicate this, but I could be wrong. It's that with increased work demands, side hustles, the gig economy, people just have less time available for leisure activities than they did, say, in the 1990s or even early 2000s. And even more than that, I think the stress level is higher. I think that people in the United States of America are extraordinarily stressed for a variety of reasons, including the complete dismantling of our administrative state and obviously attacks on some of our longest formed allies and alliances. I think on top of that, we have the economic constraints of stagnant wages, the rising cost of living, which means that most people just have less disposable income for entertainment. You know, the average movie ticket price has risen by 33% over the past decade, which makes theater visits just less accessible. Wages certainly have not gone up 33%. That's just movie ticket prices. That's not factoring in the cost of everything else that's gone up and everything else that's about to go up across the country. Then you have the more obvious culprit of the home entertainment appeal, which is that quote unquote affordable streaming services, even if they're backed by evil techno oligarchs, offer vast libraries that seem to be free. I put all this in quotation marks, which makes at-home viewing more economical and more convenient. I have friends that still like movies. They are millennials. Some of them are tending towards Gen X. And the thing that they will tell you is, look, I like movies not as much as you do, Jason, but I like movies. But here's the thing. It's just easier for me to wait 15 days. And even if I end up spending $20 on a movie just to rent it, it's me and maybe my whole family. It's still less for me and my wife or me and my husband, or certainly less than for us and our kids to spend $20 once. If we're really, 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 really itching to see a movie, we'll just do PVOD, paid video on demand. So we're not even waiting for Disney Plus or Hulu or Peacock or HBO Max or Paramount Plus. They'll get it off of Vudu or Fandango now or whatever it's called, and Amazon Prime or whatever, and they'll rent it for $20 because it makes more sense. It doesn't make any sense for a family of three or for two people to go see a movie on the rare occasion that you do and spend $35, $40 on a couple of tickets. It doesn't make any sense. Now, this is where us like letterbox types come in, and we do a comparison. We look at something like Soderbergh's Black Bag, and we go, okay, compare Black Bag to like streaming first thrillers like Red Notice, right? And we go, this is a movie, even though it's a lower budget movie. I think it was made for about $50 million, which seems insane that that's a lower budget movie, but it is. Versus like Red Notice, which was made for probably $300 million, $400, $500 million, whatever, right? 100, 10 times, 100 times the amount, whatever, and looks like slop. It is slop. But it's already there. You don't have to do anything to watch Red Notice or some of these other streaming first thrillers like Leave the World Behind or other stuff that's come out. It's already there. It's already on the app. You're already paying for the app. The app is already on your TV. And if anything has been proven by history, is that people do not make decisions based on quality, they make decisions based on convenience and familiarity. What do I already know? Will I go out of my way? And I mean this by the masses. When you look at people in mass, do people go out of their way for quality and artistic merit, or would people rather just be kind of handed slop? Right? And that's as 90s as 90s could be. I mean, think about the ubiquity of McDonald's throughout most of the country. It's not because the food has ever been remarkable, it's that it was fast and cheap. Well, that's changed as well. Now, we also have to discuss, of course, the death of the theatrical window. We've got these evolving windows where what once was the 90-day exclusive theatrical window has been shortened. And even 90 days is much shorter than back in the video store era, which we talk about so much. And so all that stuff's been shortened dramatically. And so a lot of movies are available, like Mickey 17 is going to be available, I think, within 15 days of its debut in the movie theater. It's going to be on streaming platform for paid VOD, PVOD. And knowing that movies like Black Bag will be on streaming services soon, it just diminishes that sense of FOMO or urgency to go see them in theaters, if you even know about them at all to begin with. And so the shift encourages audiences to just sit back and wait. And who it affects the most are these mid-budget films, because as theaters prioritize blockbusters, because those are going to get higher audience attention and higher audience participation. Why would you, as a movie theater, give the premium screenings and the premium hours and the premium shifts, as it were, on the screens to these smaller budgeted films, which are going to be in your theaters for less time and draw less audiences? There was a total of 3 people in my screening of Black Bag. So I think that Black Bag, as good as it is, 4 stars, go see it, preferably in movie theaters, exemplifies the challenges faced by original films in attracting theater audiences. There are generational shifts that show millennials and Gen Zs have completely different entertainment preferences. At least in the United States, although I think this is a trend globally, there is increasing economic pressures through late-stage capitalism, reduced leisure time that we're all experiencing, and just plain old fatigue that is deterring regular people from becoming regular movie theater attenders. We have shortened attention spans. They have shortened theatrical windows. And both of those things combine to contribute to the decline in urgency to visit the cinema. So what has to happen for movie theaters to not just survive, but to thrive? They have to adapt, right? They need to transform the movie-going experience into some kind of unique event. I mean, does every chair need to move and splash water in your face? Does it need to become more sensory? Does it need to become almost more like a club where you sign up for it and you just get like a streaming service, right? Where you pay a monthly fee and you get access. I mean, basically it's just like that. Was that the red card that I used to have, the movie pass? Like, they've kind of done a version of that. How do you align the cinematic experience with contemporary lifestyles? Is it even possible? Are they even compatible? I don't have an answer to any of these questions. I don't think anybody else does either. I don't even have theories. Like a lot of things in life right now, I don't know. I really don't know. I think one thing is clear, that if we were to take a snapshot of this moment, that streaming, despite all of its evils, has effectively become the default choice of this generation. Millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, even boomers. What do you think? Can movie theaters be saved? Should they be saved? Does it even matter? Who cares? Let me know in the comments below, wherever you're finding this podcast. And if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/binge movies. We launch a new series, Videoland, my long form watch along commentary track hangout experience with Brad, Old Man Brad from Tubi Tuesday, and Old Man Brad podcast is out now. If you become a clerk, you get to watch the shortened version. So if you are a Gen Z who can't sit for 90 minutes in a place. It's like an hour and 15 minutes to watch 1991's Albert Pune Not So Classic Blood Match. You can watch us talk about it for like 15 minutes and just get some of the highlights. And your money goes to support the show and keep us doing what we do here. And if you actually want to watch the movie along with us, or you don't actually give a fuck, you just want to watch two guys watch a movie and just have that hangout experience, you can become a franchisee or above. And if you don't have money for either one of those, because money is tight and time is limited, you can become a Video Club member, where you can simply get these instant reactions and sometimes odd, off-the-wall thesis statements and cries and complaints from the depths of my heart, even more instantaneously, and sometimes extended. So sign up over there. That really supports the show. That helps us grow the show. And we've got Videoland #2 coming. I just tell you what it's going to be. It's going to be me and one of the meanest film critics in all of America talking over and enjoying Raising Arizona, one of the Coens' first films. So, okay. What else is left to say? Hang on and binge on.